While we're talking about reunions, I saw a post a few days ago, I think, on Blabbermouth about you talking about Britny Fox.
Yeah.
What's happening with that? I mean, it's gonna happen or no? Never.
No, I don't think so. It's been back and forth so many times and so much sort of, man. I mean, for me, it's like I never really gave up on the idea, but after the last time, I think it was closest ever that, everybody sort of was finally communicating with each other,
Yeah.
because Dean disappeared for years and didn't, was very vocal about the fact that he didn't want to do it, But then Michael came out of hiding, and he actually called Dean and spoke to him, and I thought, wow, maybe Mike's finally getting through, but in the end, it didn't happen, and I think, the chances are very slim. I don't think it will happen at this time. We've gotten so far past the time of when we should have done it. So I leave it up to those guys. I'm here. I'm still playing. I feel good about playing. I would love to do that for the fans as well. Just as we were saying with Twisted, there's just fans out there that would want to see the band and hear those songs again. And, the only way to do it is to do it with as many people from the original thing as possible. So, but that, it's a long-winded way of saying, I pretty much said that it wouldn't happen, and that's kind of how I feel right now.
One of the questions that I wanted to ask you, but it was like later on in the interview, but now I'm going to ask you because we're talking about Britny Fox.
Yeah.
Did you? They once reunited without you. Why it happened without you?
Yeah. Well, what happened was after the band decided to just basically call it a day after, I think it was around 91 or 92, no, 2000, we did a couple things where, interest was starting to peak up again. And there was all of a sudden some opportunities for that era of bands to go out and play again, because it was impossible for us to tour because we weren't big enough, B, weren't making enough money to survive on a longer tour.
Yeah.
So, all these things started popping up, like some 80s festivals and cruises and things and weekend shows at casinos, which a lot of the 80s bands could finally do, and get out there and play on the weekends and then go back home and all that kind of stuff. So we did that in 2000, did a live record. And then we kind of went to sleep again. And while that was happening, the bass player Billy went and did some research on the name and the trademark, and realized that it was expired. So he just took it upon himself to trademark it in his own name. So now he owns the name, and he went out with a bunch of, guys that he hired to just be Britny Fox, which, to the rest of us wasn't really fair or true, It wasn't really Britny Fox. But, at this time in history, whoever owns the name or whoever can use the name is basically like,
something like that happened with Rat and with LA Guns and stuff like that, I know.
Yeah, many bands have, not only fought over, being a band, but also now you have that kind of thing in the mix where it's like, okay, we're performing as so-and-so, but we're not really so-and-so, or there's one member, or, this guy thinks he owns the name, but the other one feels like he has the right to use it. So it's just a shit show, you know, and I wish it wasn't the case, but it's really, you know, that's how it kind of started. And then in 2018, you know, Billy and his manager at the time approached me about trying to do it, you know, to the best of our abilities with me and Tommy Paris involved, because Dean and Michael didn't want to tour. So yeah, we did some stuff together as Britny Fox in 2018 or so, and yeah, that didn't last very long either. You know, it always seems to be, you know, as soon as we get together, we kind of fall apart again, you know, just because of a lot of old bullshit that comes up, or just the fact that, you know, it's been so long since we've been together and putting up with one another and trying to make music together. It's like everybody has different opinions, and, you know, they always kind of get in the way.